for Uruguay. 1-0 up at half-time. Richie, is that a fair reflection on the first half?
I've been really disappointed with Uruguay. As Brian has kind of repeated a lot in commentary, the tempo is a lot slower than we're used to. A couple of the players, Bentancur in particular, after the opening game, said they would come back in the second game and play with more sharpness and more intensity, and they haven't done so far. The goal they've gotten has come about from defensive mistakes, which we'll show in a moment, but there's a flatness. They're not playing with the intensity or the pace that we're used to seeing from Uruguay. Saudi Arabia, I think they have improved on what we saw in the opening game. They have tested the goalkeeper on 1 or 2 occasions, but the deficiencies are still there and they're still abundant.
Kevin, do you think there's the capacity within this Uruguay side to move it up a gear or two? We often hear that expression being used. So far, as Richie said, it has been flat.
Yeah, I think they're the sort of team that do what has to be done. You know, they don't get out of second or third gear until they get to play a bigger team. You know, it was like this against Egypt. They created chances, they huffed and they puffed. There was no real rhythm. It's not, you know, it's not nice to look at. But they seem happy enough with that. They don't seem like they're getting frustrated. They don't seem to care. You know, even in the last few minutes there before half-time, it was like they were happy just to get to half-time, wasting time. And, you know, fair to them if they can get through the group like that, and you know they'll get a little bit better. But that's just the team they are, and I don't think they're going to become this pretty football team overnight.
And Eamon, what does it say about Russia's result against Saudi Arabia? Because of course we're going to start referring back to, well, this is what happened to the Saudis against the Russian side, and you'd expect Uruguay to be able to, well, maybe not necessarily steamroll them, but dominate them.
They're not that kind of team. They don't have the width and the pace that you need out wide, and they don't also have the guile in midfield. They're very ordinary. They brought Rodriguez in today, the guy with his socks down around his ankles. He's 32. To add a bit of creativity to it with his left foot, hasn't done it. So they rely on Godin and Jimenez at the back, and Cavani and Suarez up front, and they steal the results. It's a very lopsided team. The gap between those 4 players and the rest of the guys in the team is huge, and you can't really expose a team unless you have that pace, or someone like Golovin playing for the Soviet Union, for Russia rather, the other day. He actually had a marvellous game and he destroyed Saudi Arabia. They don't have anyone in those positions that are likely to do that. Midfield is pedestrian. But as Kevin says, when they come up against the bigger teams, it'll be hard for the bigger teams against them because they're rugged, they're tough, they don't mind defending, and they do it very well. I mean, they've restricted the Saudis to 1 real chance. Yeah,
so, Eamon, given that they don't have that creative link in midfield, I mean, are those who have tipped Uruguay as dark horses in this competition, are they really wide of the mark?
Well, I tipped them as a dark horse. Did you? Yeah, I know. And,
so, are you wide of the mark with that prediction?
Yeah, it's a fair comment. I thought they might have more in midfield, and I thought they'd have a bit of pace. But I do think they're a side that the other good sides won't want to play, because, as Kevin said again, when it's put up to them and when someone comes at them, it'll give Cavani and Suarez more space up front, and they'll be able to maybe use the ball quicker. But no one will want to play them. A little bit like Atletico Madrid without the real quality around the pitch. They have real quality at the centre of defence and the 2 strikers anyone would want, but that's about it.
OK.